A lot of real estate agents are overly confident in the market, so I take the complete opposite approach and I'm overly critical of it.
Well, you know the story, but I'll give our audience some inside news, not available to the public. Canadians are boycotting the U.S., snowbirds are flocking, the interest rates are dropping, the markets are all over the place. We chat that and more on this episode of the Real Estate Podcast. Let's go.
Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast, your go-to source for raw, unfiltered stories and expert tips. Whether you're a buyer, seller, tenant, landlord, or realtor, join us as we dive into the world of real estate.
Black tea with what?
Just like a black tea with a shot of tequila and a teaspoon of honey.
Oh my God. No, I don't day drink anymore.
No, I'm not saying it's day drinking. I'm just saying it's a good drink. Like,
oh, you mean you
after
drink
dinner or whatever?
Oh, yeah. No, I can't drink caffeine after like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
You wouldn't have like a specialty coffee after a nice dinner?
Nope.
You wouldn't have, I've seen you must have had like cappuccino or espresso or.
No, it's been years since I have done that. The only time I would do that now is if
You don't care about your sleep?
Right.
Yeah.
Is if I can like be in bed the whole day the next day because I won't be able to get to sleep till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So if I'm on an all-inclusive vacation,
yeah,
or when we go down to Costa Rica for our investigative,
you let me know how it goes.
I can't believe that I can't convince you to go down for business purposes.
Yeah. All right. What are we talking about today?
Well, you got some.
Well, I got a letter recently from a law firm that they send these out. I don't know what frequency, but they send out these letters, hard copy letters. It's kind of nice, opposed to the traditional email.
Yeah,
emails. I do skim through emails.
That letter is essentially a blog.
Yeah, it may very well be.
Maybe we should start doing that.
Send out maybe.
Take some of our blogs, print them out, and send them out.
Maybe.
It's a good idea.
So this lawyer, or I say law firm, I assume it's the law firm sending it out, but they send out these letters at whatever frequency, and they have just very interesting, I find them interesting conversation topics. Some of them are case law, examples of things that have gone on that are important for real estate agents to know what's happening in the industry. And there's a few points on this one that I thought were worth talking about. I think we've probably touched on some of them before, but just as a quick summary, they had discussion about being very weary of buyers assigning contracts from a seller's perspective. HST applying to short-term rentals. Yes,
there's a lot of discussions with short-term rental changes right now.
Yes. One specifically for real estate agents is Instagram-savvy realtors see higher sales and faster deals. So that's important not only for the agent, but for their clients.
Mm-hmm.
Those who are active on social are selling your properties quicker and probably for more money.
Mm-hmm. I made some notes about that.
And then the non-resident seller. So it's important.
You're dealing with one of those right now?
Yeah. So it's important for sellers to know what their responsibilities are. And from a buyer's perspective, what to look out for. And those are the main ones that caught my eye. There's a couple other ones there, but I thought those were the key discussions, topics that intrigued me.
Yeah, so before we get into that, just a casual conversation about the most recent announcement from Bank of Canada with another 1/4 point reduction. We knew it was coming.
Yep.
A lot of people wanted to confirm that was happening before they made any certainly real estate purchase decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in response to what's happening in the political world, both sides of the border. The nasty T word.
Mm-hmm.
What's your general thought on what it's going to do in regards to real estate and the market?
Well, I think in general, I think it was expected because there's still, there's a lot of factors, obviously, beyond my comprehension as to how these things are determined. GDP and inflation and several components that go into determining what they're going to do. I think it's nice to see the reduction just from the perspective of, we know that there's a lot of people hurting out there still. Yeah. There's a lot of people selling right now. We see the effects of it from that perspective. There's a lot of people selling right now who can't afford their house. Yeah. They're downsizing, or they're going to rent, or they're just going to live with mom and dad because they can't afford their house, whatever it is. So there's a lot of that happening. So that's nice. So that will ease people's expenses a little bit. It's not going to have a profound impact, but a little bit helps. I don't think it's going to change anything in the market short term. I think the biggest influence on the real estate market right now that's holding things back is just the uncertainty from the political landscape, the uncertainty of what's happening, lots of things happening, and that'll be ongoing for at least the balance of the year in terms of the uncertainty. Like we don't know when the election's going to be. And
so at the end of December, we did our year-end review and
predictions.
2025 predictions.
Yeah. I feel like we were way off.
Are you still confident?
No. It's going to be in the negatives for sure.
So we both, I don't know why I'm so phlegmy today.
Me too.
Are you?
Yeah, a little bit. Could be the tea. We're both drinking tea.
Or maybe there's something floating around in our office.
Maybe.
That our bodies are fighting. Who knows? So we both more or less predicted like a 5% increase, if I remember correctly.
It was somewhere between 3 and 5.
Yeah.
Not profound, but.
Yeah. So we're 3 months now. First quarter is almost wrapping up. Mm-hmm. And you're saying now you think by the end of the year over year, 25 to 24, the prices will actually be lower?
What was, I'm trying to remember the number last year. It was, I don't remember. It was it was in the negative.
Yeah, 1.5.
Was it?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it'd be more. I think I said something like 3.65 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it'll be that, but to the negative.
Wow. So you're saying our prediction 3 months ago, there's a discrepancy of like 7 to 8, between 6 and 8%?
Potentially.
Swing?
Yeah.
That's big. That's big.
Yeah.
You see.
Well, there's a lot of big things happening.
Yeah. It's
going to
be very interesting. Here's a thought. And I like to watch the cottage market. Obviously, I'm invested in that market. I previously owned a property in Florida for a number of years. And what's happening now, I don't know if you pay attention to any of that, but a lot of the snowbirds, there's a ton of chatter right now, and a lot of snowbirds that are putting their properties in Florida up for sale. Mm-hmm. And I dove into those numbers a little bit. I don't have them with me, but the economy in Florida heavily relies on Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
Their
tourism in general, but a huge percentage of revenue generated by that state, in that state, is due to Canadian spending. Mm-hmm. And a ton of Canadians own property in Florida. If you're in your 60s or 70s and you don't want to be here for the winter, that is one of the destinations that people look at. Mm-hmm. And housing is quite affordable still. Well, there's a guy I follow on TikTok who's Canadian. He lives in Burlington, and he's down there right now. I don't know where he's at. hotel of some sort. And he posted a video of him at the hotel, and him and his family are the only ones at the pool. And it looks like a pretty large facility. And that was his comment, is like, wow, the Canadians really are boycotting the U.S. right now. It's like nobody's down there. So that's really, during March break.
So right? For me, this is a multi-prong kind of thought. So Canadians now are not going to be traveling to the U.S., not to say that they won't, but they are. We are coming together and taking a stance, rightfully so. So there's going to be less money spent on vacationing south.
Yeah,
because if you were planning to go to Florida, now all of a sudden you're not planning to potentially go to Costa Rica or something like that. The costs are way different, travel's different, healthcare and all those other factors come into play, especially if you're older.
Well, the currency on its own is discouraging enough.
Well, yeah, now if you charge something on your credit card, you're paying a 40% premium in conversion on a USD. Now, so the second prong is a lot of people are divesting out of markets like money markets and stocks and bonds and mutual funds and ETFs and all of those things. A lot of people holding cash. I'm, a believer in that at the moment, is wait for the right time to buy and have cash available to buy when it's low. And I don't want to go down that path in terms of conversation, but there will be more people that have investments. They might be freeing up some of that money for opportunity. So you've got, and again, this is not geared towards, the 20-somethings first-time home buyers. This is not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s. You've got, maybe your home is paid off. You've got money in the bank. You've got investment stocks. You had a property in Florida that maybe now you're going to sell, or you used to rent one every 6 months or for a 6-month period. There's a lot of those people. They go down, they rent for a few months and then just come back, all of that. Are we potentially going to see those people now investing in Canadian real estate, specifically cottage country and waterfront properties, and that dynamic shift of saying, well, you know what? If we're not going to go away in the winter for 6 months, maybe we'll travel a bit in the winter and we'll have a place up here to vacation during the beautiful Canadian summers. And do they potentially look at even investment opportunities like buying a condo as a rental to generate some income? Or, you know what I mean? Like, there might be different thought processes with those people now that didn't exist over the last number of years.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, the mentality of somebody who's a snowbird, if they decide they don't want to be down there anymore. First of all, I don't think that's really going to happen on a large scale. I think everyone's probably going to sit tight and see what happens before they make a decision for the most part.
I don't know.
I think it could be short-lived. It's
first of all, owning a property outside of your home territory is a pain in the ass. It doesn't matter where it is. So if you are a Canadian living in Ontario and you buy, even a condo in Florida, you still have to pay your maintenance, your taxes, your condo fees, all of those things. And now you're already paying a 35% premium on top of all that. So if you bought the place, let's say you bought a $200,000 condo, which would buy you a nice condo, pretty well anywhere in Florida that's not the Keys. you spend 200 grand, you buy the condo, the property taxes are probably, I don't know, $3,000 a year. So $250 a month there. Your maintenance fees are probably $500 a month, so it's $750, and you can account another $250 for just sundry repairs, maintenance overall, whatever. So it's costing you $1,000 a month, which is now $1,400 a month, and you own it, and you're only there for maximum 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
So now you're paying $20,000 almost to just carry it, and you're only using it for 5-6 months. So are you going to pay $20,000 to use it for 5 months? You're going to pay $4,000 a month? If you're going to do that now, maybe you're looking at renting instead of owning. And then if you're renting, maybe you're not going to the same.
Well, maybe they rent it off season.
Yeah, hard to do that.
Yeah.
Very hard to do that unless you got like the ideal spot in like Kissimmee where you can drive to Disney World, or, you know, if you're maybe oceanfront and you've got a boat to rent out, or I don't know, but there's a lot of property available for rent. So how do you do that? And then how are you managing it? Are you hiring somebody? How do you trust that person?
Well, where would I can't see a Snowbird investing their money into a cottage, because, I mean, they're looking for something in the off season. So it doesn't make sense to me. And then the cost, they're not getting, what are they getting for what they can sell their condo for?
But what I'm saying is now they might shift their money in terms of investment.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
People will still, it was funny, I was watching a reel, Instagram reel, or maybe it was a YouTube video, and there was a couple that they are at the age where they were considering a like an old age home, right? And instead of, but they were still active and relatively healthy, whatever. But it was just the two of them, and they didn't want the maintenance of owning a home, and they wanted to divest because of estate planning and things like that. And they ended up booking a cruise for 51 weeks of the year.
Yeah. Was it cheaper to live
and
that way?
And it was cheaper for them once they factored in everything, especially you add up food and all of that. So that's
pretty sweet to do that for a year.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know. Maybe it'll stimulate tourism in other areas like Europe and like, you know, Caribbean, Central America.
Costa Rica.
Yeah, I don't know. Time will tell. But as far as the rate's concerned, I don't think it'll. And I had a client ask me that, or not ask me that, but comment on that today, saying hopefully the rate reduction will stimulate things a bit. I don't think it will. But it will ease some people's finances. So that's good.
Well, I think you're not wrong, but you're forgetting the fact that in the current market, you've had buyers on the sidelines for a number of weeks with the snowstorms, the political noise on both sides of the border, and there was a bit of a holding pattern through a lot of February, right? So a little stimulus with the weather improving and a rate reduction might push some of those people, the ones that were already planning on buying, it might influence those people to make a decision and get off the fence right now, which would help stimulate the market. And what we've seen over the last number of weeks, fewer listings going up because of the uncertainty and because of homes sitting a little bit.
Yeah.
So at some point, I think that perfect storm of less listings coming on the market, some buyers moving off the fence and actually making a purchase with that rate reduction now. And it'll slowly start eating away at the inventory that's on the market, and it won't be replenished as quickly. So that means the supply and demand factors will come into play at some point here.
It will, but I think we're far off. And I think a lot of real estate agents are overly confident in the market. So I take the complete opposite approach, and I'm overly critical of it based on what we've seen in the last few years. And I think there is a...
Would you say it's a good time to be a buyer?
Of course.
Okay, continue.
But there's if you look at the inventory, I was looking at condos for a client who's interested in selling, and there's 10 months of inventory in Milton. There's in the condo market for that particular client's
based on the current rate of sales.
Yeah. So that's, that would take a while to clear up. You're going to have some that'll fall off the market because they realize they're way overpriced and they have to find another way to accomplish whatever they're trying to do. Some of those people are trying to sell because they have to. Some of them are wanting to sell because they want to, or whatever the reason may be. But that's a lot of inventory. So it will shift and it will balance out, but that's a lot of inventory. So I think it'll take a few months to get there.
Can I just give you some, you know the story, but I'll give our audience some inside news, not available to the public. So I can't give you specifics, but I can tell you, I just firmed up on a deal with one of our investors to buy a condo directly from the builder. This unit was a unit that was previously sold during the pre-construction phase, and the original buyer of this unit could not or would not close on it, so the builder had to take the unit back. It didn't close.
Did you find out that was the case?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And this unit was available and listed publicly on the MLS on par with, in terms of pricing, competitively against its competition. But when we do an analysis, a price analysis, we look at a few variables. We've always talked about this on the cast, is you look at the actives, what's available for sale that somebody might be looking at purchasing. How does it compare? We look at the sold. What does something comparable what has something that was comparable actually have sold for, and how does that compare? And any expireds or terminated listings, canceled, suspended. The interesting thing here, and this is we'll call it an entry-level condo. It's a one-bedroom. We ended up purchasing it.
Sub 600 square feet, right?
Yep. We ended up purchasing it off MLS directly from the builder for a substantially lower. I'm emphasizing that. Substantially lower price than anything that is currently listed on the MLS.
Yeah. Well, even the comparable models are selling for substantially more right now.
Yeah.
without saying anything. Yeah. I was looking because I was chatting with somebody about those as well, and there's several of them listed quite a bit higher and they're not selling.
Yeah.
So
here's the builder saying, well, we don't have confidence in the market that these are going to sell at the quote unquote market price, but we need to offload this. And we'll cut our losses. And yeah, so our buyers got a really nice deal, way ahead of the market pricing. But if we start seeing those kind of things, that means there has to be a correction from the resale standpoint. So, but you said it's a good time to be a buyer. So that's why I thought of that. Now, the debate a lot of people will have, we're really not getting into this legal.
No, we can save that for
letter.
another day.
The debate that I would have in terms or discussions that clients might have is, well, the market, it's a good time to be a buyer. It's not a good time to be a seller, and I have a home to sell. But if you're upgrading, you really are upgrading for less right now. You just have to make sure that you're being realistic with the price of your home. Because every home will sell. It's just a matter of at what price and how long it's going to take.
I would almost say advice for sellers when speaking with real estate agents about selling is to actually ask for proof of the numbers. Like, don't just accept a list price and say, okay, my house is worth blank based on what Joe says.
Right.
I would say, show me how you came to that number.
Yeah.
Because there are so many listings that are overpriced right now and they're just not ever going to sell.
Yep.
And it could be one of several variables. It could be just the homeowners driving the conversation.
Yep.
And the agent is just going along with it. Or it could be the agents misleading them. But I think sellers need to be looking at actual sales and saying, okay, realistically, putting my pride aside, and sentimental value aside, how much is my home actually worth?
Well, it's just like every person thinks their kid is cute.
In most cases, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've met a lot of ugly kids.
Yeah.
Their parents must think they're the cutest in the world.
Yeah.
So,
but that's subjective.
Well, that's my point.
This is not. These are facts.
No, but homeowners look at their home.
Emotions.
It's not even emotional. I don't like when agents say that, oh, you can't have your emotions in it. It's that's what they fucking see. If they think those blue cabinets in their kitchen look amazing, then they're going to think that you are silly for thinking those blue cabinets don't look amazing, right? And it's the same thing we walk in.
And they're just going to wait for an agent that agrees with them.
Right.
I said, oh, I like your blue cabinets.
Yes, exactly. And then that same agent doesn't have the right pulse on the market.
Yeah.
And, and looking at data over 60, 90-day period and doesn't even know how to properly analyze that data.
Yeah.
And then they just throw out, I think it's worth 1.8. Oh, yeah, me too.
But you know what? I like the accent.
That wasn't even an accent.
Oh, it was a good one.
Yeah.
Intentional or not. But there is, I'd say there's always area for being wrong in terms of, like, there are certain things you may not like as an agent and the homeowner loves, like you're saying, the blue cabinets. There could be a buyer that loves it. And I'll give you an example where...
Yeah, but you're minimizing your audience.
Yes and no. I
mean,
mean,
you are.
You are, but that's how, depending on the circumstances, that's how you maximize your value, by hitting the right person, right? So in some cases, there are exceptions to every rule where there may be something that may not appeal to you, but understanding if maybe there is a demographic out there, a pool of people that would like it.
It's like having an indoor pool.
Yeah, well, it depends on the condition, et cetera. But yeah, not a lot of people like it. But if you're willing to wait on the market for 6, 7, 8 months to a year.
Somebody that wants an indoor pool has limited options and they really want an indoor pool. They may not even
be in the market yet.
Right. They might not even know.
Yeah.
They're like, we're sick of going to Great Wolf Lodge every month and spending $4,000 to go on the slides. Why don't we just buy a home with an indoor pool?
So one example that we listed a house. I think it's actually supposed to be relisted soon, but I haven't seen it come up. We sold a house last year, and they had this massive zebra skin on the wall, real zebra skin. It was. I
know the home you're talking about, though.
Yeah, but hang on. So the stager, who happened to be friends with the owners, had insisted on removing it, and the homeowners wouldn't. And I said, well, listen, I always side with my stagers. That's their specialty. So if she's saying you should remove it, I do recommend it, but it's completely up to you. And they decided not to, so they left it up. And the buyers who well, I'll say they paid significantly more than the other offers that were on the table. They fell in love with the house, and they specifically asked to keep the rug. I guess it could have been a rug if it was on the floor, but it was on the wall, so it's not a rug. Asked to keep the zebra skin. So you never know.
And I actually thought it looked fitting for the style of home.
Yeah. I mean, certainly the home was very unique. So in that circumstance, I can see that. But there are certain people who they can't see beyond their own preferences.
Yeah.
Right?
Everybody's
so you have
got
to
their
be
own
open-minded.
style.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own style.
Yeah.
It's just like sometimes we stage a home and the seller loves it. Sometimes they don't like it. We're not doing it for you.
Yeah. No,
we're doing it to appeal to the widest possible audience. The best chance that you've got to sell your home for the most amount of money is to appeal to the widest possible audience. There will be those niche exceptions where if you have a very specific home, you are looking for a very specific buyer, and usually you can still ask a premium because you're filling a specific need.
Mm-hmm.
But those are few and far between.
Yeah.
Anyway, was there anything that you want to specific? I really liked that in that letter they talked about Instagram, because obviously we're heavy in our Instagram presence. We spend a lot of time in terms of marketing on Instagram, advertising through Meta. And their study that they did found that realtors with a strong Instagram presence see 15% more sales, and that their properties sell 5.3 days faster.
Yeah. And in the I mean, some of these numbers are big, some of them may seem small, but in the grand scheme of things, when you're selling, everything we do on its own may seem minor. Like, the importance of decorating a certain way or cleaning the baseboard. Like, they're all minor things on their own, but as a whole, it all adds up to significantly increasing your odds of selling more successfully.
To details when you're selling on average $1 million product, the attention to details really matter. What separates the difference between, so we both worked for Toyota Canada. What separates the difference between buying a Toyota Highlander and the Lexus RX SUV?
Just minor things that make it that much more refined.
Details.
Yeah.
They're details because it's the same transmission. It's the same frame. It's the same body. It's the same engine. It's the same four-wheel drive. It's the same technology, and it's the same manufacturer. The only difference is the leather's a bit nicer, the ride is a bit smoother, interior noise is a bit less. It's all details. People pay for attention to details. Same thing with clothing. You go and buy a cheap pair of jeans, what's the difference if you buy a little bit more expensive pair? The fabric's a bit nicer, the stitching's a bit better, so it all comes down.
Except you always rip a hole in your crotch for some reason.
I don't know what it is. These ones aren't ripped. Oh. Why are you staring?
I can't help it. I'm actually fortunate. I've got this plant in my face, so I can't see it. But yeah, I like that. That's an important part too. I think, when you're interviewing agents, just looking at all the different aspects of how they market their properties. Yeah. In fact, I had a client at a higher level, someone who, I just don't need to get into it, but he's asking me to keep an eye out for certain types of properties for him now. And he's specifically referencing things that he's seeing through Instagram. So he's like, hey, I saw this Instagram post about a new development, probably paid ads. He said, can you look into it for me?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. TikTok is like that too now, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people consuming that content. Mm-hmm. I have a client that keeps sending me TikToks on properties in Texas.
Yeah, I see that stuff all the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You see the homes you can buy down there right now?
$400,000-$600,000. It's like a $2 million home.
Although
here.
with the conversion, that's like 400 million.
Yeah.
All right, pal.
Good time.
Thanks for the chat. We'll see you next week.
Ciao.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Episode 332 of the Real Estate Podcast. Leave us a comment and let us know what you think about the current real estate market. What do you think about Canadians boycotting the U.S.? Is it going to affect the real estate market? We would love to hear your feedback. And of course, make sure you subscribe so you get all of our future content. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you next time.